Sourdough bagels, let's go. All right guys, this recipe is super easy. It produces 8 bagels, so let's get to it. Grab yourself a bowl and a digital scale. So first things first, you're gonna add 125 grams of active bubbly starter. Make sure you zero out your scale, and then you're gonna add 300 grams of warm filtered water. Then take your bowl off the scale and give it a good mix. You just wanna mix it until your starter's mostly dissolved in the water. Okay, so this is good and mixed. Go ahead and put it back on your scale, make sure it's zeroed out, and then you're gonna add 500 grams of unbleached flour. 500 grams. Make sure your scale is zeroed out, and then you're gonna add 12 grams of salt. Okay, and then zero out your scale again, and you're gonna add 10 grams of sugar. And you're finished with the scale. So for this next part, you can either mix it by hand or you can use a stand mixer. I'm gonna go ahead and mix the dough by hand. You just wanna get it good and mixed to where there's no pockets of dry flour and it's all the same consistency. So remember, this is a drier dough, so you're gonna have to work your dough a little bit more to get it all combined. And yes, for this bagel recipe, using a stand mixer is way easier, but not everyone has a stand mixer, so I'm showing you how to do it this way. If you are using a stand mixer, just make sure that it has a dough attachment. I know in my cinnamon roll video, I said to also use a dough attachment, and I was showing you guys a paddle attachment. I know that what I was pointing out was not a dough hook, guys. I'm human. I have 4 little kids. I often have mom brain. So if you're using a stand mixer, you want to knead your dough for about 6 to 8 minutes on low to medium speed. So this is good and mixed. Go ahead and scrape off your hands with a bench scraper or rubber spatula. Then go ahead and scrape down the sides of your bowl. Also, if you don't have a bench scraper already, I highly recommend them. They're super inexpensive. I use them for everything sourdough. They're linked on Amazon in my bio if you need one. So now that we've done our initial mix, you want to go ahead and cover up your bowl. I use these plastic shower caps. You can use a damp kitchen towel if you don't have them. Okay, so if you did use a stand mixer, you don't have to do any stretch and folds. You'll go ahead and let your dough sit on the counter overnight at room temperature for about 10 hours. You can go up to 12 hours. I just wouldn't go longer than that. And if you mixed by hand, we're only going to do 2 sets of stretch and folds. So after the initial mix by hand, you'll let your dough rest on the counter for 30 minutes, and then you'll do 1 set of stretch and folds. Then after that set is done, you'll let it rest for another 30 minutes and do your second and final set of stretch and folds. And then once those 2 sets of stretch and folds are done, you'll cover up your dough just like this. Again, let it sit on the counter at room temperature overnight for about 10 hours. Your dough will double in size overnight on the counter, and that's how you'll know it's ready. So I did this dough yesterday. It's the same exact amount, and you can see how much it grew overnight. Okay, I pulled my hair back. Let's shape some bagels. We're gonna use the dough that I made last night. Just go ahead and dump the dough onto your work surface. And then remember, this recipe makes 8 bagels, so go ahead and portion out your dough into 8 balls. Doesn't have to be exact, you can just eyeball it. Okay, that looks pretty even to me. We're gonna do a pre-shape first. To shape them, you just wanna take one of your rough balls and you wanna stretch it out a little bit. And then you wanna take the edges and fold them into the middle, just like this. And then you're gonna flip over your ball and you're going to shape it into that nice round ball using your surface for tension, just like you would a regular sourdough loaf. Then you have nice round bagel balls. Now this is just the pre-shape. We're gonna let these rest on the counter for 15 minutes, and then we're gonna come back and do our holes in the middle. While you're letting your dough balls rest, you wanna go ahead and preheat your oven to 425 degrees, and then also get a pot of boiling water going on your stove. You wanna line a baking sheet with parchment paper. And if you're using toppings for your bagels, you wanna go ahead and get that prepared now. We're using everything but the bagel seasoning for ours because my kids love it. You're gonna take your freshly boiled bagel and you're gonna put it on here while your bagels are still wet so that the toppings stick. Also, once your boiling water is ready, you're gonna add 1 tablespoon of baking soda. And then I'm also adding 2 tablespoons of this. It's a barley malt syrup. This is how you make traditional New York style bagels. So you don't need it, but I highly recommend it. It's linked on Amazon in my bio if you wanna grab some. So in addition to our 1 tablespoon of baking soda, we're adding 2 tablespoons of this. So to shape your bagel balls, you wanna go ahead and just pick up one of the balls and you wanna poke a hole through the middle with your fingers. Then I like to put it on my pointer finger and kind of stretch it out with my finger. And that's it, that's how you shape your bagel. The dough will shrink a bunch when it's being boiled and baked. So if you like that hole in the middle, you wanna really stretch it out. Okay, let's go boil them. Also, to prevent the bagel from sticking to your hands, you can just wet your hands. So go ahead and drop your bagels in and you're gonna boil on each side for 35 seconds. Okay, toppings are added. This is what it'll look like. These will go into a preheated 425 degree oven for about 25 to 30 minutes. Just keep an eye on them and take them out when they're nice and golden brown. I'll be back. Fresh out of the oven. Look how good they look. Okay, so obviously I have to try one with cream cheese. Oh my gosh, you guys, they are so good. So a couple things, they did bake for the full 30 minutes. And then if you add the barley malt syrup and your boiling water with the baking soda, just make sure not to walk away from it. And then turn the heat down slightly because it tried to boil over on me. But guys, these are so good. Let me know in the comments if you plan on making them.